What's up, everyone? Mark here, and welcome to Prepared Pantry Presents. Today, I've got a little something interesting to work on. It's a little project I'm calling Socially Distanced Trick-or-Treating. So, as of right now, at least as of when I film this, there are no particular restrictions around Halloween or trick-or-treating here in Warwick, in Rhode Island. But that's not the same everywhere. I know that that landscape is constantly changing. If anything changes here before this video comes out, I will try to insert some kind of break-in or something just to update. But again, as of right now, trick-or-treating is fine, and the primary driving factor, I think, behind folks not trick-or-treating is going to be fear of the social distancing aspect of things. So what I would like to do to combat that is build a candy chute to get the candy from as far away from the trick-or-treater as possible into their bag. And this year we're going to be giving out M&Ms, as you may already know if you saw my M&M pumpkin decorating tutorial. Definitely check it out if you haven't. I think it's pretty cool. But we're going to be giving out M&Ms, and I think those will slide nicely like little bean bags down a little luge into trick-or-treaters' bags. So there's a few things you need to consider. Depending on the size and shape and weight and packaging of the kind of candy that you're giving out, your luge may need to be more or less steep than others. For example, if you were giving out something, I know it's the wrong season, but something like Cadbury cream eggs, those will roll right down a slide without almost any incline at all. But certain things in more challenging packaging might tend to get stuck unless it's really steep. So there are definitely going to be a few challenges to work through, a couple of engineering challenges, and I think it's still going to work out, and I think it's going to be kind of fun, whether we had to socially distance or not. I think it's going to be a fun result. So it might be the kind of thing that you want to follow along with and maybe repeat at your house or do for your neighborhood. But before we get started, I want to thank you all again so much for your continued support of the channel. If you're not subscribed yet, please do click the red button down below and just make sure you hit the bell icon so you get a notification every time I have a new video out. Don't forget, you can also follow me on social media at MarkBurm on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook. So like I said, the first thing we really need to do is work out some of the questions and engineering challenges around this. So let's go take a look. Okay, so if we're going to make this candy chute successful, there are a few things that we need to figure out and a few solutions we need to come up with. So for one, I know that, and this drawing is not to scale by any means, it's just for illustrative purposes. I know that we're going to come out of a second-story window, and I want my chute to end somewhere next to the lamppost in the front yard, just so that the area where the candy drops out is well lit. Now, in my case, I know that this windowsill on the second floor is 13 feet above the ground, and I know that the lamppost is 20 feet away from the house. Now, the way that you take your measurements and do this is going to vary depending on the layout of your yard and your house. I know that in my case, I have a relatively flat front yard that is a 90-degree angle to the vertical front wall of the house. Essentially, you can do this any way you need to, even if you're in a raised ranch where you're dropping the candy out of your front door and it needs to land kind of at the basement level at the end of your driveway. As long as you are measuring the height from where you want the candy to land up to the point where you're dropping it out, you can imagine this right triangle here. And because it's a right triangle, we can use the Pythagorean theorem, which you should remember from your high school geometry classes, which will tell us that the length of this leg squared at the 90-degree corner and the length of this leg squared combined are equal to the length of this line, the hypotenuse squared. So before we do this math, quick little adjustment. Of course, I'm going to drop it out of the window that's 13 feet off the ground, but I don't want it to land on the ground at the lamppost. I want it to land a little ways up. So let's make it easy, say 36 inches, 3 feet up. So that's where I want it to land. That makes my height instead 10 feet and 20 feet. So 10 times 10 is 100, and 20 times 20 is 400. 400 plus 100 is 500, and 500, or the square root of 500, is 22.36 feet, which is about 22 feet and 4-ish inches. Now I'm going to add a little bit of length at the top and the bottom anyway, so this is just sort of a rough guesstimate for me. But now at least I know how much piping that I need. Now, the other thing that we need to solve for is how we're going to anchor the thing. So I can kind of hold it down fairly well. Some way I'll come up with something at the windowsill, but I need to make sure that the thing is anchored very well at the ground too, at the point where the candy comes out. It can't just be this, floppy pipe hanging out of the house. So what I'm probably going to do there is use some leftover 2x4s that I have laying around in the yard to build sort of a tripod arrangement to support the top of the chute where it comes to an end, and bind that onto the pipe with a bungee cord or something. The other thing that I'm a little worried about is that with the length, there might be a little bit of sag. In order to combat that, I'm going to build a stanchion or two, if I need to, out of more of those scrap 2x4s. Now, the thing here is I don't want to have to worry too much about exact measurements. So if I can build it about right like this with one screw or bolt in the middle here that can kind of act as a pivot, then the idea would be, of course, that the chute rests in this sort of V at the top, and I can bind it again with bungee cords. But by spreading or drawing these legs closer together, you notice that the height also changes. So as long as I can get in the right neighborhood for where I need to support the pipe, I can adjust it manually to get it exactly where it needs to be. And of course, I don't want to make it so far off that I have to bring the legs really close together in order to be in the right spot, because then it lacks a little bit of stability and the thing could sway back and forth that way. So I do want to give it a good wide stance, but I think that will be totally doable. So the next thing we need to do is head to the hardware store and pick up our pipe, and I'll take a look and see if there's anything else that I think I need to make this successful. And I'll join you again when we're looking at the materials. All right, so back from the hardware store, and I apologize, but it has been raining a little bit, and there's a little bit of a breeze, so I don't know how much of that's going to get picked up on the mic. I ended up picking up 3 10-foot lengths of thin wall PVC. It's meant for like drain pipe, and a fitting to go on the end. It's not 100% sure the actual size, but it's a greater than 90-degree fitting. Point there kind of being to hopefully slow down the candy a little bit as it reaches the end and direct it into the kid's bag instead of the candy shooting full speed out the end of an angled pipe. Picked up a couple of strings of lights. These are 20 feet each, more than enough to spiral around to give it kind of a neat look. They're 20, almost 22 feet each. Orange lights and some orange bungee cords to match. These were, again, only a few dollars per 2-pack. All told, these were $9 and change. I think I spent 40 some odd, less than 50 bucks on all of this. Then again, like I said, I've got my scrap lumber I picked out from the lumber pile in the back of the yard. One thing that I do want to mention here is that at the bottom of each of my stanchion feet where it touches the ground, I'm going to have something like this where there's a screw driven in. That's just to give something to pierce into the ground a little bit to hold the leg steady. I don't want it to be just the butt end of the wood sitting on the ground where someone accidentally kicking it could knock the whole thing over. Safety is key here, right? Most people should be directed towards the chute where the candy is coming out, but that's not to say that it's Halloween. Families are going to be kind of walking across the lawn. People could be walking right underneath the pipe or next to the stanchion, and I don't want there to be any danger of it falling over. So the weather is clearing up a little bit here, but I want it to be a little more dry before I really move forward with building my stanchions and measuring things out. But once I think I've got a clear idea of how this is all coming together, we'll be back and we'll take a look at how I think I'm going to lay everything out. All right, I'm going to apologize again for the wind and traffic sounds here, but I'm going to do the best I can. So we've got the height for our window. We know that we want the outlet to be 3 feet off the ground by the lamppost. We know how long our pipe needs to be. So the next thing we need to do is build some stanchions to hold this thing up once we put the pipe together. So the first one I'm going to build is the one that I want to hold the pipe 3 feet off the ground. So in order to do that, you can see I've got two 2x4s here crisscrossed. The idea is that the pipe is going to lay into this groove at the top. So starting from the bottom of that pipe, we'll measure down 3 feet. And I'm not going to be super duper worried about level, but I just want to get it pretty close. here. Let's give it a foot at each end. And mark here. Just so that I remember where those come together. When you're using power tools, please wear safety glasses. I'm wearing safety rated sunglasses. Whether they're sunglasses or clear glasses, just make sure you protect your eyes. So we're going to just drive a screw more or less in the center of this diamond. Now this one doesn't need to be adjustable, but this illustrates how we can make the height of the second stanchion to hold up the middle of the pipe adjustable. But because this is going to be the end and I want it to be 3 feet, I'm going to go ahead and drive a second screw just to hold it in position. Okay, so now the pipe will come down and rest in here. Now the pipe's going to be angled this way, so it's going to be kind of pushing on this support like this. So what I'm going to do now is cut one more piece to act as a little bit of a support in the front. Okay, I'm going to want that to be actually somewhere in the neighborhood of 3 feet. So we'll just go ahead and cut it 3 feet. Here we go. One down, one to go. All right, so I think I'm going to bring this out front and start getting things set up to try and get an idea of how tall we're going to need that second stanchion to be. All right, again, I apologize for the wind, but is what it is. So I brought the stanchion out to where I want it to end. It is attached to the first section of pipe with bungee cord. I have cut the top piece of pipe to the length that I think I want it to be based on our math. So the next step is to, let's see, put our top two pieces of pipe together. And feed this up through the old ancient window. And you're gonna have to forgive the appearance of the yard and house. We're going through a little bit of landscaping construction right now. Okay. Well, that looks just about right. All right, so the next thing we're going to do is measure up to, oh, I don't know, about here, and figure out what height that is, and put a stanchion there too, similar to the bottom one, only it'll just be an X, and you know, attached up there. And I also need to put in a bungee upstairs just to make sure that it's anchored up at the top. And then we're going to test this thing out. Okay, so here we are with the second and last stanchion. I think it's really only extra support it should need. One screw driven through so that this was kind of adjustable, held the same way with the bungee cord. And again, I did drive screws up into the ends of these boards so that there's a sort of cleat to hold it there. Again, that's just so that it can't be accidentally kicked out with someone walking by. But yeah, I think we're just about ready to head upstairs and test it. Add our little diverter to the bottom here. I'll come up with a better way of attaching this, I think, later, but for now that should suffice. All right, let's go upstairs and give it a test. And here we are at the top of the tube. That's pretty slow, and it's stuck. I think what I might need to do is kind of... Oh yeah, that works. Oh, that knocked the other one out. So yeah, as long as I don't throw the pack flat like this, and I kind of fold it over a little bit, that seems to be all it needs to go down the chute. All right, guys, I know you all want me to find a way to send you down this tube on the camera, so let me see if I can figure that out so that I can put that on the end. Thank you so much for watching the video. I hope you got a kick out of this. I hope you got an idea that maybe you can do in your neighborhood. Thank you again so much for watching. If you enjoyed the video, if you like this idea, give it a thumbs up. Subscribe if you haven't already. Just click the red button down below the video. When you do, make sure you hit the bell icon so you get a notification every time I have a new video out, and we will see you in the next one.